Chapter 8, Part B, Form, Meaning, and Use 1, Quantifiers. Think critically about meaning and use. Here we have 4 sentences with A and B after them. We have to decide which one is true, A or B. Which one describes the sentence best? Number 1, hardly any students showed up for the review session. A, no students came. B, a few students came. Which sentence, A or B, describes hardly any students showed up for the review session? The correct answer is B. A few students came. Not very many, but it doesn't mean no, because no students means 0. Number 2, we have little time for cooking, so we eat out a lot. A, we usually don't have enough time for cooking. B, we do have some time for cooking, but not very much. Which one is the one that describes best? We have a little. Which one, A or B, describes the sentence best? We have little time for cooking, so we eat out a lot. A, we usually don't have enough time for cooking. Little time, not much time. Number 3, several people called me yesterday. A, I received few phone calls. I received a lot of phone calls. Which one better describes several people called me yesterday? I received a lot of phone calls. Not few, because few means not many. Several is a positive idea. 4, a lot of teenagers used instant messaging more than email. A, this refers to a large number of teenagers in general. B, this refers to a large number of a specific group of teenagers. A lot of teenagers use instant messaging more than email. This refers to a large number of teenagers in general, not to any specific group of teenagers. Let's examine these concepts in detail in the following slides. Now let's take a look at quantifiers before non-count nouns or plural count nouns. Before non-count nouns, here are some examples. When I was a student, I spent little time on the computer. That means not much time. When I was a student, I spent a little time on the computer. A little time means some time. So notice the difference between little, which is negative, and a little, which is positive. When I was a student, I spent a great deal of time on the computer. I spent a large amount of time on the computer. I spent much time on the computer. If you want to show that the time was excessive, you use the word too. I spent too much time on the computer means the amount of time I spent on the computer was excessive. It was more than necessary, more than I should have. Those are non-count nouns, or example of a non-count noun with the word time. Now let's take a look at the use of quantifiers before plural count nouns. Few people say that they use text messaging. Few means not many. A few people say that they use text messaging. A few indicates a positive amount. So notice that little and a little express first negative and then positive. The same thing for few, which is not many, and a few, which is more positive. The difference is that few is used before count nouns. A few means several. Several people say that they use text messaging. Quite a few people say that they use text messaging. Quite a few means a large number. A large number of people, notice we use the word of there. A large number of people say that they use text messaging. A majority of people, notice the use of the preposition of here too, and many people say that they use text messaging. So quantifiers come before nouns or noun phrases and are used to talk about amounts. They answer the questions how much? That's for non-count nouns. Or how many? That's for count nouns. These quantifiers don't express an exact amount, but only indicate whether the amount is large or small. They're used both before non-count nouns or plural nouns, but not both. All right, let's go on. Quantifiers before non-count nouns or plural count nouns. Now let's take a little, and few, a few. Some fish need little oxygen to survive. Little oxygen, not a little. Little oxygen means they don't need much air. They don't need much oxygen. We saved a little money. A little money. We saved a small amount of money. Few people know that the Grand Canyon is in Arizona. Few people means not many people. Not many people know this fact. Few people. Can I borrow a few dollars? I want to borrow a small amount of money. May I borrow several dollars? A few dollars. Now let's talk about much and many. How much time do you need? Much modifies the noun-count noun time. I don't waste much time. How many friends do you have? I don't know many people. Use much before a non-count noun. Use many before a plural count noun. Little, meaning not much, has a negative meaning, whereas a little, not very much, but some, has a positive meaning. Few, not many, and a few, not very many, but some, follow the same principle. Remember, little and a little are used for non-count nouns, but few and a few are used for plural count nouns. Much is used with non-count nouns. Many is used with plural count nouns to ask about amounts. They usually imply there is at least some. In negative statements, not much and not many refer to a small amount. Much is not usually used alone in affirmative statements to indicate a large amount. A lot of is preferred. There's a lot of information to memorize. That's a lot of information to memorize. That's much information. We don't usually use much in this way. A lot of information is much more common. Quantifiers before both non-count nouns and plural count nouns. Before non-count nouns and plural count nouns, we have words like these. No mail was delivered today. 0 mail. Hardly any mail was delivered today. Maybe a few pieces, but not as much as we normally get. Some mail was delivered today. Plenty of mail was delivered today. Plenty of is more than some. A lot of or lots of. You see, those are two phrases that have the same meaning. A lot of mail, lots of mail was delivered yesterday. Almost all mail was delivered yesterday. All mail was delivered yesterday. So we're moving from nothing at all, 0, no, all the way down to all, which would be 100%. Notice we can use all of these quantifiers before the word mail, which is a non-count noun, and also in front of a plural count noun like questions. No questions were answered at the press conference. Hardly any questions were answered. Some questions were answered. Plenty of questions were answered. A lot of questions were answered. Lots of questions were answered. Almost all questions were answered. All questions were answered at the press conference. So these quantifiers can be used before non-count nouns and plural count nouns. So these quantifiers, except for no, don't express an exact amount, but only indicate whether the quantity is large or small. No, of course, means 0. No and hardly any are not used with negative statements because they're already negative. Some is often used with negative statements in subject position. In other positions, any is used instead. Let's look at these examples. Some people don't like to use email. I don't have any new email messages. Notice the negative I don't have, so I don't have any. Negative, use any. Plenty of implies that you have enough of something. You don't need any more. We have plenty of eggs. We don't need to get any at the store. Any is used to ask about amounts. Any can cover a wide range from none to all. In negative statements, not any means the same as none. Let's look at these examples. Did you get any mail today? Did you get any mail today? I didn't get any mail. How about if it's positive? Yes, I got some mail. Yes, I got some mail. No, I didn't get any mail. Mail, noncount. Now let's take a look at count. Did he make any remarks? Plural count noun. Did he make any remarks? He didn't make any remarks. So notice the use of negative, not any. He did not make any remarks. If you want to answer yes, you say yes, he made some remarks. But if you want to answer negative, no, he did not make any remarks. Quantifiers with of. Quantifiers with non-specific nouns, such as all kids, like ice cream. That means kids in general. A little cheese can be good for you. That means cheese in general. A lot of computers have anti-spam software. That means computers in general. No homework will be assigned in this class. Now take a look at the ones on the right side where it quantifies with specific nouns. All of my kids like ice cream. So it doesn't mean all kids in general. It means a certain group of kids. Which kids? Whose kids? My kids. A little of the cheese was moldy. Was all of the cheese moldy? No, it doesn't mean cheese in general. It means a specific piece of cheese, a specific part of a piece of cheese. A little of the cheese. So it means that we're talking about something that was already mentioned before because we're using the word the. The cheese indicates something definite, which means we must have been talking about it, or it must be common knowledge to both the listener and the speaker. And now we know that a little of it, not all of it, but a little of that specific cheese was moldy. A lot of these computers have anti-spam software. Do we mean computers in general? Nope, we mean computers that we're pointing to or that we have already talked about. Maybe I'm showing you around my college and I'm showing you the computer room. And I'm saying this computer lab, indicating the computer lab and those computers. All of these computers have anti-spam software. Or I could be just talking about something and mention the computers beforehand. So when I say these computers, I'm referring to the ones I just mentioned. And it specifies computers. So we don't mean computers in general. So a difference between a lot of computers and a lot of these computers. None of our homework has been checked yet. Does it mean all homework in general? No, it only means homework, our homework. Depending on who that means, it could be homework for our class. All right, let's take a look at non-count quantifiers with singular count nouns. Some of the book is interesting, but I wouldn't recommend it. So notice the word some of the book. Something that means a part or some parts of the book, but not the entire book. A little of the roast got burnt. Okay, so I was cooking a roast. I put it in the oven, and a little part of it, not the entire roast, a little of the roast got burnt. I'll just cut that off. I won't serve that part. Quantifiers with nonspecific and specific nouns. Most quantifiers can occur with or without of, but they are used with different kinds of nouns. Use quantifiers alone to talk about a nonspecific noun or a noun in general. Use quantifiers with of plus a determiner, for example, the, our, or these, to talk about a specific noun. So quantifiers are showing you like this, all of my kids, right? that's a determiner. All of the cheese, that's a determiner. A lot of these computers, none of our homework. So these are using the of with a determiner. Some quantifiers, such as a lot of and plenty of, always occur with of. So these are the ones that you need to remember. For example, some of. But a lot of, never say a lot and then a noun. Always has to be followed by of. Same thing with plenty. So we use a lot of or lots of, and we use plenty of. They always occur with of. With this group of quantifiers, of is used before both nonspecific and specific nouns. The difference is the addition of the determiner. The determiner. Remember determiners? Like my, the, these, and our. Those are examples of determiners. Now, when talking about specific nouns, of is optional after the word all. So notice again up here where it says all of my kids like ice cream. We can also say all my kids like ice cream. So this is the only word where the word of is optional. Only the word all can be all of or all my kids or all of my kids. The rest of them require the word of before the noun. Now the only other quantifier that we need to pay attention to is the word no. No cannot be followed by the word of. Use none instead. You could say no kids like to do homework. No kids, that's okay. But if you say my kids, you cannot say no of my kids. You need to say none of my kids. All right, so remember no and none of. Use either singular or plural verbs after none. So we can say none of the answers are correct. None of the answers is correct. Quantifiers with of can also be used with pronouns to talk about specific nouns. All of them like ice cream. All of them meaning all of my friends, all of the people in this class, all of the children. None of it has been checked yet. None of the homework has been checked yet. Some of it is interesting. I read a book, and some of it is interesting. Some of the book. Non-count quantifiers with singular count nouns. If a singular count noun is thought of as something made up of parts or having mass, a non-count quantifier with of can be used to refer to a part of the whole. Quantifiers used as pronouns. Some people spend their time online searching for information, but a large number use the internet for email. Few of my students like homework, but some do. So notice that so far we've seen a large number used means a large number of people. Some do means some of my students. So we're noticing that we can use these quantifiers as pronouns. Pronouns means a pronoun is a word that can take the place of a noun or a noun phrase. So some of my students, some. So the word some is used as a pronoun here. I've run out of change. Do you have any? Any means any change. We're not saying the noun, so we're using the word any, this quantifier, as a pronoun. I thought that help would arrive soon, but none did. None means no help. So notice that we don't use the word no. We can only use the word no before the noun and say no help arrived. No help arrived. But in order not to repeat something that we've already said, we use the pronoun none. I thought that help would arrive soon, but none did. Quantifiers can be used as pronouns when the meaning is clear from the context. To form the pronoun, the noun following the quantifier is dropped, just as I explained to you. Instead of saying, few of my students like homework, but some of them do, we just say, few of my students like homework, but some do. When quantifiers with of, for example, a lot of, plenty of, a large number of, are used as pronouns, of is dropped. So let's look at this. Some people spend their time online searching for information, but a large number of people. If we get rid of the word people, we also get rid of the word of. So we don't want to say a large number of use. We just say a large number use the internet for email. So that's where it says to drop the word of. No and every are not used as pronouns. Instead, use none. For example, I thought that help would arrive, but no help arrived, but none did. And every cannot be used as a pronoun. You would have to say every one. And that is different from everyone. So every one, 2 words, is different from everyone, which is a pronoun. So be careful of the spelling because it also changes the pronunciation and, of course, the meaning.